Today we're talking about ANAXA, one of the most intriguing upcoming characters. If you've been following leaks and discussions, you probably know that there's been a lot of speculation about his path, element, and overall playstyle. In this video, I'll break down all the available information, clear up some confusion, and share what we know about how he fits into the meta. Save up to 23% on the Herta banner at lootbar.gg. All you need is your UID and server. The link is in the description. One of the biggest surprises surrounding ANAXA is how much his element has changed during development. A few months ago, he was rumored to be an Ice Nihility character, but now he's said to be a Wind Erudition unit instead. What's interesting is that despite this shift, his core playstyle remains the same. He still specializes in weakness implantation, making enemies more vulnerable and amplifying team-wide damage. The only major adjustments were his element and path, but his mechanics seem largely intact. There's also been some confusion about whether there was an imaginary erudition version of ANAXA at some point. While some sources claimed this, others, including Uncle097, still believe that ANAXA has never been imaginary. Regardless, what we can confirm is that the Wind Erudition version is the real deal, at least for now. ANAXA's biggest strength is his ability to frequently implant weaknesses into enemies. This is a major mechanic because weakness breaking plays a crucial role in combat. Based on what we know, ANAXA can stack up to 7 weaknesses on enemies, and when that limit is reached, his damage output increases dramatically. This makes him a high-frequency attacker, which is a playstyle that naturally consumes skill points instead of relying on normal attacks. ANAXA also seems to have great synergy with the Herta. In version 3.2, the Herta's signature weapon is considered a must-have for teams that rely on high skill point consumption. This means that ANAXA's optimal teams will likely include tools to manage skill economy, either through signature weapons or through careful team building. ANAXA's ultimate has a visually striking effect, as he summons the Tree of Wisdom in battle and attacks all enemies. To clarify, this isn't a summon like a memo sprite or an entity that stays on the battlefield. It's just a visual effect for his ability. His talent plays directly into his role as a weakness implanter. Every time ANAXA deals ultimate damage, he applies a random weakness to enemies. Each instance of damage applies a different weakness, lasting for a set number of turns. This is an incredibly unique mechanic. It means ANAXA can counter enemies who lack a matching elemental weakness, making him useful in a wide variety of combat scenarios. According to some sources, ANAXA-based teams are being described as one of the strongest teams in 3.2, possibly rivaling the E2S1 Casteries plus Sunday lineup from the anniversary patch. While this might sound exaggerated, the reasoning makes sense. Since ANAXA boosts weakness application and high-frequency damage, he could be the missing piece for a fully optimized erudition synergy team. One big highlight is that this team is rumored to be far ahead of all others in pure fiction. This suggests that weakness application might become an essential mechanic for top-tier damage output in 3.2's combat challenges. However, some of this information is still under review. Uncle Hell Girl, a reliable person, has pointed out that while some details are correct, others may not be entirely accurate. So while the potential is exciting, it's still best to wait for more solid confirmation. Since ANAXA is not focused on normal attacks and instead relies on frequent skill usage, his teams will need ways to regulate skill point consumption. Whether or not you'll have issues with skill points depends on your survival slot and whether your 4th slot can provide enough utility. This means players will need to carefully balance their teams. If your support or healer is skill-hungry, managing ANAXA's full potential could be tricky. This is another reason why the Herta's signature weapon is being heavily recommended for ANAXA-based teams. It smooths out skill point economy, allowing the team to function without draining resources too quickly. If you enjoy high-frequency damage, units that manipulate enemy weaknesses, ANAXA could be a game-changing addition to your roster. His ability to implant multiple weaknesses ensures constant break effect uptime, which is especially valuable in pure fiction and other high-difficulty content. The biggest consideration is team synergy. If you already have a strong erudition lineup or are building around high-damage AoE teams, ANAXA'S mechanics will fit in perfectly. However, if your account lacks good erudition supports, or if you prefer single-target burst characters, he might not feel as impactful. ANAXA seems to be a very unique character, and his ability to implant multiple weaknesses could make him one of the most interesting additions in 3.2. His transition from Ice Nihility to Wind Erudition was unexpected, but since his kit remains mostly unchanged, it suggests that Hoyoverse is doubling down on his high-frequency damage and weakness application mechanics. So what do you think about ANAXA? Are you excited for his release? Or are you waiting for more solid details before deciding to pull? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Save up to 23% on the Herta banner at lootbar.gg. All you need is your UID and server. The link is in the description.